Here. Oh man, I forgot that was kind of the wrong one. Anyways, hello, and welcome back to Retrieving Sanity with your podcast host Keegan, and this is your podcast for all mental health, addiction, recovery issues, and topics. And have you ever wondered what it's like to really just kind of go to some haunted places, maybe, or shadowy places, places that maybe a little dark, quote unquote? Well, there are places most people avoid, the places where pain has left fingerprints on the walls and silence hums like an echo of everything lost. But for Dr. Chad Scott, those places became invitations. He's a therapist, author, and educator, and liver transplant survivor, and has walked through Auschwitz, Ground Zero, and the shadowed corners of history, not to glorify tragedy, but to uncover what it can teach us about healing. After nearly losing everything, he discovered that standing in the presence of humanity's darkest moments can sometimes shine the brightest light on what it means to be alive. So, Dr. Chad Scott, how are you doing, my friend?
I am great, Keegan. I really appreciate you having me on. I love talking about mental health, and especially when you can mix it with a little dark tourism. I think that's a win-win.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you for being on because it's not very often that I find someone that shares my sense of love for the dark and morbid,
Right.
if you want to call it that. My therapist didn't like me calling things morbid for some reason. I never really understood it. But whenever you say dark tourism, what exactly is dark tourism and how did you fall into it?
So dark tourism is actually an academic term, and the concept of dark tourism has been around for since people gathered in groups. They went to places like Mount Vesuvius and the Colosseums, and went to morgues. I mean, that actually used to be a thing in Paris where people would just go to the morgue and hang out on a Sunday,
Yeah.
And it was coined by researchers in the 1990s, and and that's what they use when they do studies on dark tourism is they call it dark tourism. So it's going to historically dark places of tragedy, suffering, seemingly macabre, things like that, where it might be cemeteries. I know you share a love of going to cemeteries too.
Yeah.
But also places of really dark places, like places where genocide happened, and like Auschwitz and the killing fields of Cambodia and Rwanda and places like that, where really, really darkness and death happened. And then you can, on the very opposite end, you can have kind of fun places where I would call it edutainment types of places, where the London dungeon or the Berlin dungeon, where it's more of a haunted house type of thing, but you also learn about history as you're doing it. And then there's all kinds of places in between. For example, different sites of war, the Salem, Massachusetts, with the witch trials and all that thing. And there's just a variety. Even I have a half a chapter devoted to Jerusalem, and because there's so many dark things. When I was going through my liver disease, where I didn't know if I'd live or die, I actually went to Jerusalem, maybe to find Jesus really quick. I don't know, but I grew up Catholic and kind of grew away from it. But then when death is staring you in the face, it's like, oh, geez, I take a crunch course. And I was feeling well enough to where I actually went alone to Jerusalem. And there's a lot of darkness that happened in Jerusalem. You're going there to reflect on Christ's suffering, but you're also, all the wars over the years. And I mean, there's just so much darkness in Jerusalem. But there's also so much light. And I think at the end of that chapter, I talk about, it's a lot of dark, but I think the light wins when you go there. And then from there, I actually went to Egypt and went to the pyramids, which are basically where King Khufu, you go inside the Great Pyramid, the big one, and you make your way all the way to King Khufu's tomb, and then you go to kings and go to the temples there, and and you come face to face with King Tut's mummy down in his tomb, and it's just an amazing experience. But you're reflecting a lot on darkness, but also the point of my whole book, which is it's a memoir of my story of, having a pretty decent life, but then all of a sudden getting hit with anxiety, profound anxiety. I'm a therapist. I've been a mental health in the mental health field since the year 2000.
Okay.
And I've been a therapist since 2009. And but anyway, I really started. I probably carried anxiety my whole life, but then I ended up getting physically sick, which ended up, I didn't know if I, was going to live or die at that time. And I was in this great marriage for, I was with somebody for 11 years, and then she left when I got sick, and then I started abusing alcohol, and that's where my story really starts getting good, actually, because I started traveling. I mean, I've traveled my whole life, but I really got kind of intentional about going to darker places, and because they were so, I thought I was going there because of, just my interest in history, but I think I was getting so much more out of it than I really realized. And once I went through, when I got really sick with my liver, and for a while there, I thought I had liver cancer, and, that has a 5%, survival rate. And so I actually went to these places and found that they ended up being really healing and teaching you a lot of lessons. And that's really what my book is about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I've got to say that I can totally relate with the whole alcoholism thing, because I'm 4 years sober now, and I was battling alcoholism for. Thank you. I was battling alcoholism for the better part of 10 years, and really just sat there and really fucked up my body, So I'm surprised that I didn't end up in a state of sickness, but at the same time, I might be ignorance is bliss whenever it comes to that. That's its own story and everything. But we're trying to figure out dark tourism and how it helps heal someone. So whenever you were finding yourself were you still in the thralls of addiction whenever you were finding yourself in these dark places?
Well, yes and no, because I've always gravitated towards them. So, and whether I was, crossed the threshold to alcoholic or not before my divorce, I mean, that's debatable. I definitely drank heavy. I come from the Iron Range in northern Minnesota, and we have a huge culture of drinking up here. And I was in my 20s, and I was definitely partaking just, as heavy as a lot of the people do up here. But when I went, and during that time I was going to, when I was married, we ended up going to graveyards and things quite often. And it's just kind of, I remember the first time we went to one, we were at Sloppy Joe's bar drinking in Key West, Florida. And some hippie guy came up to us, and we just started chatting, and he's like, man, you gotta go to the cemetery. It's the quirkiest place in town. And, it had all these epitaphs, like, devoted fan of Julio Iglesias, and I told you I was sick. And just, and then there was one I remember with the guys flexing, with his shirtless, and, and there's chickens running around, and they're all above ground tombs. And it's just really unique. So we actually started going to places. The Paris catacombs was one of the most unique. You'd think it'd be just terrifying going down there. There's 6 million skeletons down there just stacked up with skulls and patterns, and you go down there, and it's just like, you look at those skeletons, it's like, that person had a name, that person had people that they loved and that loved them. What did they do as a job? How did they die? And you start thinking about, like, man, it's becomes a memento mori. And what memento mori is it's a Latin reminder of remember you're going to die. And it's used nowadays, and over the past several hundred years, it got picked up more by the Christians and things. And it's a call to live with purpose. It's a call to remember to love with great intention, and to, to smell the roses. And when you go through dark places, everything seems brighter on the other side. So stepping into the dark illuminates the light. So I know I talked a lot, so I don't know if I hit your question or not, but
no, but that's the thing. You totally did, and it's all right. Like, that is what retrieving sanity is for. We take rabbit hole trains all the time, and if you find a rabbit hole and you want to dive down it, by all means, because we never know when.
Yeah, I am a living rabbit hole. Absolutely.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, though. We never know what kind of conversation may come out of this conversation, and we never know who's going to need to hear whatever you've got to offer. Because much like most people, they tend to kind of steer away from cemeteries if they can, because a lot of people think that that's where it's just sad memories, right? So,
right.
But it's kind of the difference between actively avoiding it and actively going to it. And like, that difference is that you were in a dark spot ish, kind of, maybe, but at the same time, I don't know. It's weird because everyone's relationship to something so profound is so deep and personal that it's kind of hard to say one way or another, right? Oh no,
you broke up for like the last minute.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. We're at 6:36 my time. We're 11 minutes in. Do you want to keep trying with this internet connection, or do you want to go somewhere stable?
I have a feeling it's just going to keep doing this.
Okay.
They changed it. So I was actually in Africa the last couple of weeks, but I came back to work this week, and the internet's been glitchy all week, and I was kind of worried about it. And so, it's bad right now even.
Yeah, like, I hear you, but you're not moving. If we want to wait a few minutes, we can wait until you get resituated and stuff, and then if you want to do it that way, or if we can reschedule entirely. It does not matter to me.
Yeah. It's up to you. I have the time to do it tonight if you want to do it.
Yeah. I mean,
I probably can get home in 15 minutes and jump back on. And
alrighty, that'll work.
Yeah. All right. So I'll see you in 15 minutes.
Yes, sir.
All right.
All right.